Welcome. My name is Maureen Harvey, and my pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm dressed as a ghoul today. Not every day. I'm dressed as a ghoul with white face paint and black circled around my eyes and flowers in my hair. I am supposedly kind of a La Katrina. You can get the picture. Welcome to First Unitarian Church, where our mission is to explore the eternal, nurture community, and pursue the common good. We welcome you in your brokenness and in your wholeness. No matter who you have been, who you are, or who you are becoming, we greet you today with love. I'd like to extend a special welcome to everyone who is watching us on YouTube this morning. During the prelude, please introduce yourself in the comments and let us know where you're joining us from. If you're in OKC, what neighborhood you are in, or if you're elsewhere, what city are you in? And now, the prelude prepares us for worship. We light our chalice in Midtown, Oklahoma City, on land that was home to first Americans, including the Apache, Caddo, and Wichita, on land that was taken from the Muskogee and the Seminole and other removed and relocated peoples. We light the chalice as a symbol of our sacred time together. The burning chalice represents the light of reason and science, the warmth of loving community, the cleansing heat of justice, and the flame of hope.
Again, welcome. I am Reverend Diana Davies. My pronouns are she, her, hers. And for those in our community who are blind or visually impaired or watching us from home and don't have bandwidth, I am a white woman in my 50s, and today I am not wearing my clerical robe and stole, which I usually have on, and I'm not in costume either. What I have on today is the dress I normally wear for funerals. And I am wearing that today as a way of bringing death into the midst of joy. We gather at a sacred time of year for many. To those in our community who celebrate Samhain, may the ancestors deliver blessings on you and yours. May the turning of the year bring you strength and joy. And to those who celebrate the Day of the Dead, Feliz Día de Muertos, la vida de los muertos está en la memoria de los vivos. Today, we celebrate the fun of Halloween, even as we remember that this secular holiday has deep religious, cultural, and spiritual significance for many. Our candle of remembrance is lit for Reba Adams, the mother of Susan Biles. Reba passed away in Colorado this past week at age of 94. Reba was active in this church in the 1970s, along with her husband, Gail Adams, who served a term as church president. Please join me in a moment of silence in memory of Reba and in care for Susan and her family. Our words of welcome come from Reverend Christian Schmidt. No matter who or what you are welcome here. Let's be clear, we welcome goblins and ghouls, saints and sinners, angels and devils, zombies and werewolves, vampires and witches. We welcome princesses and princes, paupers and farmhands, aliens and astronauts, robots and cyborgs, firefighters and police officers, nurses and doctors, cowboys, cowgirls, cowfolk of all varieties. We welcome Superman, Wonder Woman, Black Panther, Batman, Spider-Man, Black Widow, and Thor. Indeed, we welcome both superheroes and superstars. In short, we welcome people, monsters, and all manner of creatures. Here, we welcome you and all of who and what you are. Welcome. Let us begin.
Good morning. My name is Courtney Custer, and my pronoun is she. I'm Blake Bynum's mom, and for Halloween, I'm dressed as Blake.
Hi, my name is Blake Bynum. I go by any pronouns. I'm Courtney's son, and for Halloween, I'll be dressing as her.
We want to share a little bit about Halloween in our family. Halloween is my favorite holiday for a few reasons. First of all, there are no real expectations on you. You're not expected to visit all your relatives, although I like visiting my relatives. You don't have to cook, although I like cooking. You don't have to buy anything, although I like buying things. You can dress up if you want, but you don't have to. Halloween is really just about having fun. Secondly, chocolate. Or what's better than free candy? I don't really need an excuse to buy candy at my house, but Halloween is a convenient reason to stock up on the snack-sized candy bars. Now, I have found that people are less likely to give free candy to grown-ups even when they are dressed up. But hey, my kids go trick-or-treating, they get far more candy than would be healthy for them to eat. And you know what? They have to go to school sometime.
Okay, remember the safe we were talking about? You can pick that up on the way home.
Right here.
I like Halloween because of the spooky atmosphere. It's really a fun experience when, for 1 month, being scared is something that people want. People like being scared on Halloween. I also like it because people give you free candy. You just go door to door and asking for sweets and people just give it to you.
What's great about getting dressed on Halloween is that anything goes. You don't want to dress up? No problem. You want to wear fall colors and a cozy sweater? That works. Do you want to make your costume? Cool. The more creative, the better. You want to spend a lot of money and go all out? That's fantastic. Go for it. Last year, I was an ID card because part of my job at the VA is managing 12 federal ID card offices in our region. So I made a scale model of the Homeland Security Presidential Directive Number 12 Personal Identity Verification PIV card with a cutout for my face that I walked around with, which was fantastic. Or the year before that, I wore my high school graduation gown. Yes, I still have it. And a jabbet I borrowed from Becky Talent, and I put my hair in a bun, and I was Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
My most recent costume, aside from the one I'm wearing right now, is my Adam West Batman costume. I made it at home, and although it doesn't look that great, it's still fun to just walk around the school as Batman, especially whenever someone stops you and just asks for a selfie with Batman. Wearing a costume is always a lot of fun. This year I had the idea that since me and Courtney are about the same size, we could dress as each other. Making these costumes has been really fun, and going trick-or-treating will be extra fun this year.
And yes, that is my suit he's wearing. So maybe today and tomorrow, while I'm dressed as Blake, I will take some time to think about things from his perspective and what it's like to come of age in a pandemic. What's it like to be a teenager in a virtual world where friends and sometimes school and church are online? What would it be like to be a person with ADHD and not the person who can stay focused for hours and hours on end and forget to eat lunch? How is high school different for him than it was for me, when all his work is assigned on the computer, his textbooks are PDFs, and even as a freshman, he's being prompted to think about the college application process? How is his perspective different when he's growing up knowing transgender friends and transgender wasn't even a word in my vocabulary until after college?
And I can see from my mom's perspective. What is it like to have to pay bills every month, to work 40 hours a week and find time for my kids? What's it like to be in charge of 50 people, making sure they do their job and doing your own at the same time?
So whatever you're wearing, however you get your chocolate, and whatever alter ego you might step into, I hope Halloween brings you an opportunity to let your hair down.
Or pull it back.
And have some time for fun.
Every Sunday, we take an offering. Since 2002, all the cash and designated checks from that offering have gone directly to external nonprofit organizations doing good work, our Change for Change partners. Because October is 2S LGBTQ+ History Month, our Change for Change partner is the University of Central Oklahoma's Women's Research Center and the BGLTQ Student Center. Their collective mission is to engage and advance women and the bisexual, gay, lesbian, trans, queer, plus community at the University of Central Oklahoma, the greater Oklahoma City metropolitan region, and beyond. For those of you who are in the sanctuary with us today, in just a moment we'll be passing the offering plate. If you're not able to make a gift today, we invite you to write a little note of encouragement for our Change for Change partner organization, and we'll share those messages with them. And if you're watching us online, please make your gift by sending a check to First Unitarian. Just write Change for Change in the memo line, or make an online payment through our website, 1UC.org.
The story my mother always told us was that she was planning to go to a costume party, but instead she went to the hospital to have me on Halloween. I've never minded sharing my birthday with a holiday. It always seemed like everyone was celebrating with me. Back in my day, as we old people say, we not only went trick-or-treating on Halloween, but we also went on the night before Halloween, which we called Beggar's Night. We lived in a rural area, and we'd probably log a mile round trip, but it seemed like a long way and in the dark. It was a real adventure. Most people gave out candy bars. Sometimes they just gave you a nickel. Mrs. Hagan across the street made homemade donuts, and one year she made caramel apples. We'd sneak back for a second visit to Mrs. Hagan, and she was a good sport. I guess we weren't aware you could buy costumes. We always made our own. Ghosts, mummies, and flappers were popular and easy to assemble. But as I recall, our go-to was a hobo. The key ingredient being a bundle tied to a tree branch. At the end of each evening, one had quite a haul. One year, however, Norman Nickel, an older kid who lived down the street, put a rotten tomato in my bag, which was a brown paper grocery sack. And that caused it to spring a leak, and I lost most of my candy. I've never forgiven Norman Nichols for that. As adults, we've had some fun costume parties too. I remember one year Patsy was the roadkill pizza delivery man. She had on an apron with blood on it, and she had a giant fly on her shoulder. I remember Scott as Mr. Potato Head, and Rodney with the two small tucks on and a rubbered Ronald Reagan mask. I have photos. One year I was the young Elvis and Scott was the older Elvis, and he wore a white jeweled jumpsuit that I made him. We still have that. As you can see, I still enjoy dressing up when I get the opportunity. We don't get trick-or-treaters at our house in Choctaw anymore, so we hang out at Marriott and Sam's, where we sit in the front yard around a fire and greet the many, many ghouls and goblins that come trick-or-treating. It's the best way to spend a birthday. However, I think it was those early teen years that were the best. We were allowed out unsupervised with a herd of kids, in the dark, dressed as our alter ego. This is the age when we're trying out new versions of ourselves anyway, and Halloween provided us the environment to experiment. I think Halloween brings out that kid in all of us. And alter egos? Yeah, we're still experimenting with those every chance we get.
Normally, when I ask, would you join me in a spirit of prayer or meditation, that's a cue to everyone to get very quiet and stop fidgeting around and remain very still. And that's because of our Protestant Christian heritage, a tradition in which people generally pray quietly, even silently. And because for those who meditate instead of praying, meditation is often something we do while sitting still. But today, I'm going to ask you to put all that aside and to pray or meditate with me with sound and motion. So to start, I invite everyone to just start to gently sway. Like you were rolling along or walking along a path. And maybe you can imagine that you're on a great plain in the autumn, and the leaves are turning colors and falling off the trees, and the tall, dry grass is making whispering sounds. And maybe some of you can make a very quiet sound of the wind blowing and the dry grass and the dry leaves rustling. You hear that sound? Maybe you can even hear some insects singing their last song before the winter comes. They sound like baby turkeys. You get the idea. And the sound of birds flying overhead, flying south. Yeah, maybe some geese honking. And the sound of acorns falling off of oak trees onto the hard earth. Maybe the sound of squirrels burrowing in the dirt to hide those acorns. And everything is busy, preparing for the winter and preparing for the earth to go to sleep. And some things are dying, some things are going away, some things are growing into the ground. And slowly everything gets quieter, and you stop moving, and everything is still. And there's no sound at all. But then, very softly, you can hear the sound of your own heart beating. And you can hear the sound of your breath. And if you listen very closely, you can actually hear the sound of the earth's heart and the sound of the breath that includes us all. And you begin to understand that everything is connected. And you are connected too. To the people near and far away, and to the trees, and to the grass, and to the wind, and to the birds, and the squirrels. And you are connected to people near and far away, and to people who died a long time ago, and to people who haven't even been born yet. And here is where, maybe, if you want to, you might close your eyes. And I invite you to think about one person, or maybe it's an animal friend, one person for whom you are thankful. Maybe it's someone or some being who loves you so much and who brings you joy. And I invite you quietly to say, thank you. And now I invite you to think about one person or one being who needs love. Somebody who's suffering or very sad. Do you know anybody who's maybe very sad, having a hard time? I invite you to imagine that person or that being and to quietly say, peace, peace. And finally, I invite you to imagine the whole world, our home, our earth, floating out in the darkness of space. And I invite you to take your heart and to send out all the love that you can send out to the world. And maybe quietly say that word, love. Love, peace, thank you. May it be so. So kids, I'm going to need, younger folks, I'm going to need your help with this because I'm going to tell a story that I bet a bunch of you know. And so I'm going to ask you to not say the ending, even if you know it, because we want all the grown-ups to be surprised. All right, so work with me. In a small town, not too far from here, there was an old abandoned house. No one ever went into it because everyone said that it was haunted. And one day, there were a bunch of local people who were sitting around at a coffee shop, and they were chatting about bravery. And one man in particular was bragging loudly, saying, "I'm not afraid of anything." "Oh, yeah?" said his buddy. "I'll bet that you aren't brave enough to spend a night alone in that old abandoned house." Well, the boaster did not want to admit that he was afraid, so he agreed to sleep in the house that very night. At dusk, he arrived at the house alone. He checked every room, and he found nothing unusual. He chose an upstairs bedroom. He spread out his sleeping bag on the floor, and he tried to sleep. He had just dozed off when he heard a faint noise from downstairs. He strained to hear what it was, and it sounded like someone moaning these words: "I am the ghost of the bloody finger. I am in the front hall." Well, the man told himself he was just imagining things. It must be the wind, he thought. But then he heard a bit louder, "I am the ghost of the bloody finger. I am at the bottom of the stairs." "My imagination is running wild," thought the man. "I'm just going to sleep, and soon it'll be morning." But then he heard, and it was even louder, "I am the ghost of the bloody finger. I am at the top of the stairs." The man dove inside his sleeping bag, but he could still hear the ghost getting even closer. "I am the ghost of the bloody finger. I am in the upstairs hall." Oh, by now the man had his head under his pillow, but he could still hear the ghost getting closer and closer. "I am the ghost of the bloody finger. I am at the bedroom door." The man was shaking with terror. The door creaked open. "I am the ghost of the bloody finger. I am in the bedroom." And the ghost paused in the doorway and said, "I am the ghost of the bloody finger. Do you have a Band-Aid?" Yay! All right, so that's a really silly story. It was kind of scary, though, for a little bit, right? Yeah, it was kind of scary. I remember my older cousins used to tell me stories like that when I was a little kid. Stories that would make me hold my breath in fear and then burst out laughing. And as we get older, of course, the nature of ghost stories and other scary stories changes, and they get gorier, eerier, and bloodier, and can't be stopped with a Band-Aid. But I think that it's these sillier kids' stories, these stories that are told around a campfire, that involve that adrenaline rush of fearful expectation and that powerful release of laughter, that are truer to the spirit of Halloween. Because at its root, Halloween is about laughing at the thing that is most feared. It's really about laughing at death. Do you remember that old holiday special, It's the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown? And some of you I know watched it right here at church just last night. I have always thought that Halloween special is sort of the reverse of the Christmas Peanuts show. In the Christmas show, you might remember, it's Linus who gets it. It's Linus who teaches the other kids the true meaning of Christmas, which isn't about commercialism or materialistic things, but about a deep and profound love, the simple yet miraculous gift of a poor child born into the world. And while everyone else is running around, buying presents and going to parties, it's Linus who rises above it all in his quiet wisdom and sincerity. And yet, in the Peanuts Halloween show, Linus's sincerity is a problem. He may get Christmas, but he completely misses the point of Halloween. Because for him, Halloween is a very serious holiday to be approached with a kind of reverence. And the Great Pumpkin is a magical figure that follows these binary values, sinner, saint, good, bad, worthy, unworthy, of normal times. The Great Pumpkin for Linus is basically Santa Claus in pumpkin form. Like Santa, the Great Pumpkin rises up one night a year and flies around the world bringing presents to all the children, but only if they are sincere believers, only if they are good. But Linus has got it wrong, because Halloween isn't about goodness. It's not about justice or rewards for those who persevere or punishment for the wicked. This is what 8th and 9th century Christians missed too when they set All Saints' Day to correspond to the pagan celebration of Samhain in an attempt to absorb and contain the more ancient harvest festival. You can't replace a celebration that's based on bodies and fertility and harvest and hunger and the recognition that we all die, people, animals, plants. You can't replace all of that with cold homage to the saints, those who are above reproach, who've lost all connection to their fallible bodies, and expect that the new holiday will stick. And it didn't. Which may be one reason why, in the 10th century, a second day, All Souls' Day, was added to recognize all the rest of us, all the non-saints, all of the regular folks who weren't good enough to make it to heaven but still had a fighting chance. But that effort to lay a holy day based on standards of goodness on top of an essentially amoral holiday, and note I'm saying amoral, not immoral. Amoral means something for which standards of morality are irrelevant, like nature. That didn't work either. It was no time at all before the elements of Samhain and other pagan or indigenous holidays associated with death and the end of harvest began working their way into All Saints' Day and All Souls' Day. The intentionally repressed didn't stay that way for long. In Europe and in the United States, there was the birth of Halloween, and in Mexico, there was Day of the Dead. And these are two very different holidays. Should not conflate them. They have different roots and histories, and yet they share some important elements, most notably the familiarity with death. They both see the skeleton behind the smile, or the smiling skeleton. These holidays remind us that it doesn't matter how sincere we are, or how hardworking, or how good. Everybody eventually dies. And there's nothing depressing about this, even if it is a little scary. There's nothing sad about this because in our mortality, we are all part of the community of life. We are all in this together. At Halloween, there's no division between the saints and the sinners. Angels trick or treat with devils. Gandhi dances with Mike Myers. The mummified corpse of an Egyptian pharaoh is no more regal than the furry and foul-smelling werewolf from who knows where. All are leveled. All are made equal in this great experience that is death, that is a part of life. Poor saintly, sincere Linus. He may exemplify the Christmas spirit, but not the spirit of Halloween. That honor goes to Snoopy. Dancing in the darkness with his little howling at the moon, wearing disguises, creating mayhem, dying dramatically, only to jump up and dance again. Laughing, rolling on his belly, pounding the earth as he guffaws so hard he cries, and then cries so hard he laughs again. Not a saint, not immune to death, but fully involved in life. And so may we all be. Our closing hymn today is in the teal hymnal. It's number 1024, Spirit Says Do. And I invite you to move on this one. Move on this, move around. Be happy, dance if you want to. Please rise in body or in spirit, for Spirit Says Do.
We're going to do this 4 times. We're going to do sing. I didn't bring my book. Sing, do, sing, dance, do. Do, sing, dance, do. You got to do when the Spirit says do. You got to do when the Spirit says do. When the Spirit says do, you got to do. Oh Lord, you got to do when the Spirit says do. 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 Spirit says
can sit down if you'd like to. In just a moment, after the benediction, Diane will play us out. And if you are wearing a costume or if you'll be participating in Trunk or Treat, I invite you to leave first. And please, we'll have you leave out this front door and then go around to the side. Everyone else, please sit for a bit and enjoy the impromptu Halloween parade. And as you leave the sanctuary today, you'll find Susan Bishop and Jean McLaughlin at the doors handing out League of Women Voters nonpartisan voters guides. Yay! They also have stamped postcards that you can use to send messages to fellow Oklahomans, encouraging them to vote. And now I leave you with this Halloween blessing. Go enjoy. Go in laughter. Go knowing that death and in life, none of us is alone. No one is a saint. No one is reduced to the sum of their sins. All of us human. All of us part of the great community of being. In the shadow of death, may you be fully alive. May it be so. Amen.